Okay, so really quick, before we get into this story, I need you to understand something about spreadsheets. A spreadsheet is supposed to be a private place. It is supposed to be the digital equivalent of talking to yourself in your car at a red light. Nobody is supposed to see the inside of your spreadsheet. Your spreadsheet is where you're allowed to be a little unwell. Mine had a tab called Vibes, and 43 other people just saw the Vibes tab. My name is Daniel Brooks, and I think I just accidentally started a recession. It started 3 weeks ago with a feeling, not even a thought yet, just a feeling, the kind of feeling that lives in your stomach before it lives in your brain. And here's the thing about that feeling. Once you notice it, you start collecting evidence for it, even if you don't mean to. Clue 1. The office stopped restocking the good snacks. Not all the snacks, just the good ones. The granola bars with chocolate chips, gone. The ones that taste like cardboard with ambitions, still there, fully stocked, untouched, judging us. I want to be very clear that I noticed this on a Tuesday, and by Thursday, I had a theory. Clue 2. There was a town hall scheduled. Then it got rescheduled. Then it got rescheduled again. Each time, the language in a calendar invite got slightly more formal. It started as team catch-up. By the third reschedule, it was organizational alignment session. I did not need to tell you that nothing called an organizational alignment session has ever been good news in the history of language. Clue 3, and this one is personal. Nathaniel Carroll. Yes, Nate, from 6 months ago. He's on a different floor now, which I genuinely thought meant I was free. I was not free, because I walked past his desk and saw him, through the gap in his cubicle wall, updating his LinkedIn, during work hours, in broad daylight. He noticed me noticing. Neither of us said anything. I want on the record that this was the most honest interaction Nathaniel Carroll and I have ever had. Clue 4. HR sent an email. Subject line, some organizational updates. And I don't know how to explain this except to say that you can feel when an email has been edited by committee. You can feel the 4 different people who looked at this email and said, maybe soften that, until what's left is a sentence so smooth it has no edges left to hold on to. That email took someone 3 days to write. I would bet my life on it. So that night, and I want to stress that I had work the next day, this was not a great use of my evening. I opened a blank spreadsheet, just to organize my thoughts. That is how every disaster in human history has started, just to organize my thoughts. By night 2, it had 3 columns. By night 3, it had a pie chart. By night 4, and I am not exaggerating for effect, this is a true and verifiable fact. It had 7 tabs. 7. One of them was called Vibes. It contained no numbers, just emoji. Each department got a weekly emoji rating based on, and I quote myself here, overall energy. I want to be very clear. This was for me. This was self-care. This was, and I cannot stress this enough, a coping mechanism with a pivot table. If you have ever turned a feeling into a spreadsheet at 11 p.m., because your brain would not stop until it had a system, drop a comment and tell me what your version of the Vibes tab is called. I promise you have one. Everyone has one. And subscribe, because what happens to my Vibes tab next is the reason I'm telling you this story at all. Tuesday, the all hands. I had 2 screens. This is normal. I want to establish that having 2 windows open during a presentation is a completely normal and professional thing to do. Window 1, my actual presentation. A real, legitimate, boring project status update. Window 2, minimized but not closed. The spreadsheet. The Vibe spreadsheet. Updated that morning. Because, and I cannot stress how unwise this was in hindsight, I had added a new column overnight. A column called Risk Level, with conditional formatting. Green, yellow, red. Applied to departments. Marketing, yellow. Customer Success, red. My own department, also red, which I'd like to point out I included for what I genuinely believed at the time was data integrity. I felt it would be dishonest to leave myself off the list. I stand by this decision morally. I did not stand by it practically. I want to share my screen. I clicked the wrong window. I want you to picture this in slow motion because that is genuinely how it felt. My finger descending toward the trackpad with the complete, unearned confidence of a man who has shared his screen successfully 11,000 times before. No hesitation. No double check. Just click. The spreadsheet appeared. Full screen. The Vibes tab. Red cells. A pie chart. Titled, and I've built this pie chart myself, alone, at 11 p.m. for nobody, departments most likely to get the email. Silence first. The normal kind. The kind you've heard about in other stories I've told. Then a voice. From customer success. Slow. Careful. Is that us? Are we red? Then a second voice. Slower. The specific tone of someone doing math they didn't want to do. Wait. Is this a layoff tracker? And I need you to understand this was not loud chaos. This was corporate chaos, which is its own specific animal. Everyone leaning slightly toward their screens to read the cells more clearly, while simultaneously pretending they were not leaning toward their screens. A room full of people doing a very subtle, very synchronized lean. Mark removed his glasses. Of course he did. And then, I do not know how this is possible, because Ray was not even in this meeting. Ray appeared. On the call. Uninvited. He had seen the Slack messages start exploding in real time from a completely different meeting and joined this one out of what I can only describe as pure chaos magnetism. He looked at the screen for exactly 2 seconds and said, completely deadpan, "Why is my department orange? What does orange mean? Is orange worse than yellow?" In the top corner of the grid, Jessica Miller, who in every single story I have ever told you, has reacted to catastrophe with at most one blink. Jessica Miller leaned forward, just slightly, just enough. In the 4 seconds it took me to Alt-Tab back to my actual presentation, I heard someone, to this day, I do not know who, say, with complete sincerity, "Should I be updating my resume right now?" I closed the spreadsheet. During this meeting, the spreadsheet did not close the situation. I finished my actual presentation, the real one, about project timelines, in front of a room that was now operating on a completely different emotional frequency than it had been 90 seconds earlier. I said the word timeline, and someone visibly flinched. I have never seen a word land like that. Not even a bad word. Just timeline. Then the meeting ended. Then the messages came. Someone from customer success, very calmly, "Hey, can we talk?" Someone from marketing, less calmly, "Was that real?" Someone I have never spoken to in my life. I knew it. I knew it. Nobody believes me, but I knew it. Ray, efficient as always. Orange? Only 2 question marks this time. I noted that this was a smaller reaction than Gerald got, which honestly tells you everything you need to know about how that day compared to this one. And Mark sent something I had never seen from him before. No qualifier. No, this happens to everyone. Just, "Hey, so, should we be worried?" That was the first time in our entire friendship Mark has ever asked me a direct question with nothing attached to soften it. Then the calendar invite arrived. Not from Jessica this time. From HR. Subject line, "Quick chat, information sharing." I would like to point out that information sharing is corporate for "we need to discuss the thing you shared." The meeting itself was with someone new, Priya Sharma, from HR. Kind. Genuinely kind. The specific kind of calm that comes from having had this exact conversation, maybe not this exact spreadsheet, but this exact category of conversation before. Somewhere. With someone. She explained, gently, that the company could neither confirm nor deny anything regarding workforce planning. She explained that my spreadsheet, while creative, was causing some concern. And then she said, completely flatly, in the same tone you'd use to read out a weather forecast, 2 of your risk categories were correct. Long pause. 2 of them were correct? We're not going to discuss which 2. By Thursday, the spreadsheet had a life of its own. It had been screenshotted, forwarded, and it now had a name I did not give it. People were calling it the Brooks Index. People I have never spoken to were referencing the Brooks Index in hallway conversations like it was a Bloomberg terminal, like it was a recognized economic indicator, like I was Wall Street. Someone made a parody version. They added a tab, "Coffee Machine Risk Level." I'm not going to lie to you, it was actually pretty funny. I felt a complicated mixture of violated and proud, in roughly equal measure. I walked past a conference room on Thursday afternoon and overheard two people from a department I have never once interacted with having a genuinely serious strategic conversation about whether they should get ahead of it based on what Brooks is seeing. What Brooks was seeing was a snack restocking pattern and one suspicious LinkedIn update. That's it. That was the entire model. And then, for the first time in 6 months, Nathaniel Carroll texted me. The full message. Was I red or yellow? I did not respond. I want it on the record that this is the most power I have ever had over Nathaniel Carroll in our entire professional relationship, and I intended to enjoy it for exactly one more day before deleting the spreadsheet forever. If this is the most chaotic Tuesday you've heard about all week, like this video and share it with a coworker who definitely has their own version of the Vibes tab. They know who they are. Subscribe because the ending of this one genuinely surprised me, and I think it might surprise you too. Here's the part where I tell you it was all fine. 2 weeks later, there were layoffs. Smaller than the spreadsheet predicted. Different departments, partially, but customer success was hit. And quietly, awkwardly, part of my own team was too. I want to be careful here because this part isn't really funny, and I don't want to pretend it is. Layoffs are real. People lost jobs. That part of this story isn't a punchline, and I'm not going to treat it like one. But here's what I took away from it. The spreadsheet wasn't magic. It wasn't even particularly clever. It was pattern recognition from someone anxious enough to be paying very, very close attention. And it turns out a lot of people have been noticing the same things. They just hadn't said it out loud. The Vibes tab wasn't a prediction. It was a room full of people's collective, unspoken feeling, organized into a pie chart by one guy who couldn't sleep. Now, here's the part that's funny again, I promise. Priya from HR reached out one more time. Not for a warning this time. She told me, off the record, that a few people in leadership had quietly asked whether I'd be interested in something in people analytics. They want to hire the guy whose anxiety spreadsheet predicted layoffs. To officially predict layoffs. For money. With a title. I have so many follow-up questions. I said yes immediately. Here's what I learned. Everybody already knows. In every office, there's a version of my spreadsheet. It just usually lives in someone's head instead of shared drive. Maybe the lesson is to talk to each other more. Maybe the lesson is to never, ever name a tab Vibes. Probably both. Also, if your company's snacks suddenly get worse, update your resume. I'm just saying, the data doesn't lie. The data has never lied to me. The data has, however, occasionally been shared by accident with 43 people. So, be careful with your tabs. If you made it this far, thank you genuinely. If this is your first time here, welcome to Corporate Chaos. Subscribe because Daniel Brooks now apparently has a job in people analytics, and I promise you that is going to go fine. Probably. The data says probably.